She found a worn envelope on her mat, sealed with the image of a marionette's unsettling grin. Her curiosity overpowered caution. She picked it up, feeling the weight of something ancient and ominous. In that moment, Sarah's ordinary world began to unravel.
What's that, mail this late?
On a quiet May afternoon, Sarah, an artist drawn to the macabre, sat sketching by her window. A soft thud at the door broke her focus. But Sarah's curiosity only deepened.
Thank you, Mr. Abernathy. I'll be careful.
The Grand Orpheum, abandoned, legendary, and now the center of his terror.
The theater, it's cursed. The stories are true.
His warning was desperate, his gaze fixed on the envelope.
Don't go there, child. Leave it be.
As Sarah examined the envelope, her reclusive neighbor, Mr. Abernathy, appeared at his window, eyes wide with fear. The legend of the Puppetmaster haunted her thoughts. The invitation felt personal, irresistible. Despite Abernathy's warning, Sarah's fascination with the unknown won out. She couldn't turn away from the darkness that called to her.
The Puppetmaster's Grand Revival, tonight at dusk, audience of 1.
Inside, Sarah broke the wax seal, revealing an invitation written in blood-red ink. She donned her jacket, stepped outside, and left safety behind. The Grand Orpheum loomed at the end of the street, waiting. Every instinct screamed to stay, but the pull of the unknown was stronger. With a final breath, Sarah walked into the twilight. Her journey begun.
All right, here goes nothing.
As dusk fell, Sarah stood at her door, heart pounding. Her imagination twisted every shadow, every sound. The Grand Orpheum was her only beacon. Each step drew her deeper into the unknown with no turning back.
Even the wind sounds like whispers warning me away.
The cold was more than physical, it was the chill of isolation.
Every house is just a shadow. The silence is total.
Sarah stepped onto the sidewalk. Her familiar street now felt alien. Sarah froze. A hiss echoed. A stray, startled by a falling trash can lid. The noise shattered her composure. Fear exposed her. Each reminder twisted into something menacing.
A metallic clatter echoed.
She felt a sense of trespass. The air felt older, heavier. She was an intruder in its kingdom of decay.
The architecture started to change. Homes that had seen better days.
Numbers became a fragile shield. Street lamps grew more infrequent. She moved from one pocket of safety to the next.
1, 2, 3, 4.
She began to count her steps.
I forced myself to keep walking, my pace quickening. My boots made a soft, rhythmic crunching sound.
The rational part of her mind knew it was just the wind.
I flinched, spinning around to see nothing, just a swirling vortex of dead leaves. My heart was a frantic bird.
As she continued, the silence was broken by the scuttling of dry leaves, like the skittering of 1,000 tiny insects. The walk became a psychological ordeal, a dismantling of her courage. The Grand Orpheum loomed, yet seemed no closer. Unseen eyes bore down on her.
The pressure of being watched became intense. I pictured pale faces peering out from behind withered trees.
It was the silence of a predator watching its prey. The world had become a stage, performing for a vast, invisible audience.
I quickened my pace. It was too real to ignore.
The curse claimed the entire neighborhood as its domain. She was already inside its hunting ground.
Was it Abernathy tracking my descent into madness?
1,000 unseen eyes were following her. She couldn't shake the feeling she was being watched. It was a primal, instinctual sensation, a focused attention directed entirely at her. The silence was deep. The final steps to the entrance felt long.
It was the smell of a place sealed for a long time.
The air was colder and carried a faint, peculiar scent.
Some said the Puppetmaster's spirit haunted the stage. Standing here with the invitation in my pocket, they felt less like fiction and more like history. I had sketched the theater many times, captivated by its tragic beauty. It was a real place, a place of legend and fear, and I was about to step inside.
She remembered stories her grandmother used to tell of a vibrant, magical place. The door groaned, releasing a gust of stale, cold air carrying the smell of dust and decay. The darkness within felt like a tangible void.
With a shaky breath, I pushed.
The theater felt alive, waiting.
Crossing this threshold meant leaving behind logic and safety. The sliver of darkness was a beckoning finger.
The chain was merely a decoration, giving the illusion of being sealed. This was a deliberate, silent summons.
As my eyes adjusted, I saw it. One of the heavy doors was not fully closed, open just a crack.
The invitation felt like a cruel joke.
For a moment, I thought my journey had been for nothing.
Then a soft, dry, creaking noise joined the rhythm. The sound of old wood shifting came from above. She didn't dare look up. The marionettes were waking up. Whispers filled the air, slithering through the breathing silence of the theater.
I wanted to scream, but my body refused to obey. I was paralyzed by fear. The only thing I could do was listen to that slow, monstrous breathing in the dark.
Panic pierced through her initial shock. This was real. The curse was real. She was standing inside a living, breathing tomb.
It was in this moment of total sensory deprivation that I first became aware of it. Beneath the profound quiet, there was a rhythm, the sound of something breathing.
Here, the silence was a living entity.
The door swung shut behind me with a soft, definitive click, leaving me in complete darkness.
In this moment of total sensory deprivation, the silence broke. A slow, rhythmic pulse emerged, so low and deep she felt it in her chest. It was a soft, vast respiratory sound. The entire theatre was breathing around her, a monstrous, sleeping entity she had awakened. She was paralyzed, caught in the lungs of some great ancient beast. The stories were no longer just stories. This living, breathing darkness now knew she was here.
I can barely breathe.
The door clicked shut. The sudden drop in temperature was immediate. The air was thick, heavy, and stale.
I stepped across the threshold, and the world I knew just ceased to exist.
A creaking sound echoed. It came from above her. Another creak followed, then another. It was the sound of their joints, their wooden limbs beginning to stir. They were waking up. The whispers began then, so faint at first. The whispers seemed to come from everywhere. The silent, hanging audience was coming to life. The strings were being pulled, and the show was beginning.
Shh, the audience is here.
She was standing beneath a silent, hanging congregation. The legendary marionettes of the Grand Orpheum dangling from their strings in the darkness. She could feel them watching her.
Oh God, those are eyes. They're everywhere, staring down at me.
They were eyes. Her light travelled upward, revealing peeling wallpaper. She cast the beam fully on the ceiling and gasped. Dozens of marionettes hung above. Clowns, ladies, soldiers and animals. Their paint was cracked, their clothes were moth-eaten, and their glass eyes stared down. This was the Puppetmaster's kingdom. Sarah swept her light across the lobby like an archaeologist entering a cursed tomb. The stillness was unsettling. Her feet made tracks in the thick dust.
This place, it's like a mausoleum.
She was in the grand lobby of the theatre. The beam of light revealed a landscape of decay. A thick carpet of dust covered everything. Faded posters still clung to the walls. It was a place of ghosts.
Okay, just keep moving, Sarah.
The whispers intensified. The breathing walls and whispering puppets were a calculated assault on her sanity. The invitation was a summons to be the show. She was the main attraction. The strings were pulling tighter.
The strings tighten. The stage is set.
She disturbs the quiet. She breaks the spell.
With a deep breath, Sarah forced herself to move forward. The marionettes seemed to react to her movement.
The new one is bold. The new one is afraid.
She walks among us. She stirs the dust.
She focused the light on the path ahead. Yet she could not stay here under the watchful eyes of the whispering marionettes. The cat lowered its back, its gaze never leaving hers. It sat down and began to groom a single paw, its hostility replaced by an unnerving, watchful calm. The sudden shift in its behavior was more frightening than its aggression, a silent, enigmatic gatekeeper to the theatre's deeper secrets. The silent guardian had made her question whether she truly wanted to take the path forward.
Are you stuck here too?
The cat flattened its ears and hissed again. It mirrored her movement, blocking her path. It was guarding the way forward.
Where did you come from?
The cat's hiss was a sound of pure territorial aggression, a warning.
Oh my God, a cat, just a cat.
The eyes belonged to a cat. It stood its ground with the ferocity of a panther. Welcome, little performer. The stage is yours. But you may not like the script. Was it him? Was his spirit still walking these halls? She was an intruder in his home, and he was now aware of her. Every shadow seemed to coalesce into a tall, thin figure. The psychological tension was becoming unbearable. The theatre wasn't just haunted, it was occupied.
Oh God, please, I don't want to be here anymore.
She stopped walking, straining her ears. There was only the oppressive silence and the frantic thumping of her own heart. It was the feeling of someone standing right behind you. Panic began to bubble in her chest. She was not alone.
Is someone there?
A chill crawled up Sarah's spine. There was a singular presence here. It was unseen, unheard, but its attention was a palpable force.
These photos, all these faces just staring back at me. Did they ever leave, or are they still here somehow?
She reached the doors. The wood felt cold beneath her fingertips. Pushing it open felt like a surrender to the theatre's will. The unseen presence was all around her now. Taking one last breath, she pushed, revealing the vast, dark expanse of the auditorium and the single, starkly lit stage. She had entered the theatre.
This is it, the moment I crossed the threshold.
The pull intensified, drawing her toward that illumination. They were not the chattering of the puppets, but a single, deep, resonant hum. The stage was waiting.
I think I understand now. I'm part of this.
She was not meant to be a spectator. She was meant to be a participant. You feel it, don't you? The stage calls to those who are chosen.
My feet, they're moving on their own. I can't seem to stop.
A strange, inexorable pull was drawing her forward. Sarah's heart hammered as she stood at the back of the auditorium. The spotlight made the shadows seem even deeper. The darkness itself seemed to be watching, waiting. The show was about to begin, and she was the chosen audience. The curtain would rise for her.
Those faces, they're everywhere, watching.
She saw a wide proscenium framed by tattered red curtains. The carvings of masks and puppets had twisted expressions of mirth and horror.
Ah, it's so bright I can barely see.
She took a trembling step forward. Then a blinding spotlight snapped to life.
It's so cold in here.
The auditorium stretched before Sarah like an endless abyss. The marionettes began to sway, their strings rising and falling. Their dance was both mesmerizing and abominable, a parody of human movement. The marionettes were performers, and they had been waiting for an audience. Every eye was turned toward her, welcoming her into their nightmare ballet.
The stage is set, the lights are bright. Will you dance with us tonight?
Welcome, little watcher. We have waited so long for you.
Sarah watched their limbs flail in unnatural synchrony. Their eyes seemed to scan the auditorium, searching. One puppet, taller than the rest, wore a cracked porcelain mask and moved with unsettling grace.
Oh my god, there's so many of them. They're alive?
Then, from the wings, they emerged. Marionettes, dozens of them, stepped into the light. The sound was both invitation and threat, a promise of spectacle and suffering. His gaze felt like ice pressed directly against her soul. She was ensnared by the Puppetmaster's presence. Welcome, Sarah. The show has been waiting for you. From the shadows, a figure materialized. The Puppetmaster stepped into the spotlight, topped with a pristine white mask. Strings trailed from his gloved hands. The Puppetmaster's presence was magnetic, commanding, radiating a sinister elegance. She stumbled backward, unable to look away. The boundary between the animate and the inanimate was warping. Panic clawed at her mind. She thought of Mr. Abernathy's warning. The invitation, the curse, was no longer an abstract threat. It had a face, a voice, a stage. Sarah's world shrank to fear and disbelief. She was a captive in a show that had waited decades to begin again.
No, please, stay back.
The marionettes began to twitch. Their faces turned toward her in unison, their movements growing increasingly lifelike.
How is any of this even possible?
She pressed herself against the back wall, her breath ragged. Every shadow seemed alive. Sarah watched, unable to tear her eyes away. The Puppetmaster's gloved fingers moved with impossible speed, orchestrating every step. The marionette's dance grew faster, more frantic, the music box melody spiraling into a nightmarish crescendo. It was a spectacle of control and surrender. Sarah's hands balled into fists as if the strings were reaching for her.
I can't look away. Why can't I move?
The marionette's faces never changed, but their bodies seemed to express agony and joy.
The strings are tight tonight. Can you feel them?
Watch us, Sarah. Dance for the master.
With a slow flourish, the Puppetmaster raised his hands. The music box melody returned, filling the air with an urgent, manic energy as the marionettes began to dance. The dance was beautiful in its horror. She clenched her jaw, fighting the urge to flee, but the doors behind her had vanished into blackness.
Sarah, the show is for you. Don't resist.
The auditorium's seats remained empty, yet Sarah felt the weight of unseen eyes. She shivered. For a moment she saw movement, a flicker of a shadow. With every passing second, the theatre felt less like a building and more like a living thing.
Don't look away. The strings are pulling tighter. The stage is hungry.
Sarah could hear them now. whispers, low and insistent, threading through the music. The voices overlapped and merged. Sarah's silence was her only answer. She could feel the invisible strings tugging, urging her forward, fear mixed with fascination. The Puppetmaster's invitation was a promise. She was the next act. You were chosen, Sarah, by design. Will you join us or will you run? The marionettes stirred, their faces turned to Sarah. The Puppetmaster's mask tilted, studying her reaction. Every show must have its star, every stage its sacrifice. He extended his arms, the strings dangling. Sarah waited, breathless as the master prepared to speak. Sarah realized her part in the show was far from over. The Puppetmaster stage was set. She was part of the dance. The curtain of reality fell away, leaving only the tightening of invisible strings.
This is only the beginning.
She was an audience of one, but also the spectacle. The theatre demanded silence.
The strings are pulling tighter.
Sarah's world shrank to the circle of light at her feet. Outside, the world continued in ignorance. Inside, time had paused, waiting for her choice. Her curiosity about the dark had been a homing beacon. It had called out, and the Puppetmaster had answered. She had been chosen.
I thought of my quiet life, now a universe away.
The invisible strings were becoming terrifyingly real, urging her toward the illuminated stairs.
My body felt like it was made of lead.
Illuminating the dusty steps that led to the stage. It was a clear, unspoken command. Will you join us? The Puppetmaster observed his latest acquisition. Sarah could feel his satisfaction. He was claiming her, body and soul. The theatre seemed to rejoice in her capture. She was being absorbed into the fabric of this place. The light from the stage felt like a physical barrier. She was becoming a part of it. She was climbing onto the stage to become a permanent part of the cast.
Your place is waiting.
Come to us.
The strings had taken hold. Her autonomy was gone, surrendered to the will of the masked figure. It was the horror of losing oneself. She was walking toward the glowing stairs. She was a puppet of flesh and blood, and her master was testing his control. Her right foot lifted from the grimy floor.
The movement was not my own. I watched as my leg moved forward with the stiff, jerky motion of a marionette.
The promise was both a comfort and a curse, a vision of eternity in this dusty limbo. Her gaze fell upon her own hands. In the stark light she could almost see the faint shimmering threads. She was fully integrated into his system. It was for the premiere of a new one, and she was its star.
You will never be alone again.
The strings feel so good.
The Puppetmaster took a step back, ceding the stage to her. He glided into the shadows. The stage was hers. A solitary figure surrounded by a silent chorus. A collective sound rose from the assembled marionettes. They turned toward her, their painted faces a grotesque gallery of welcome. She was the new initiate being presented before them. Their glass eyes glinted, reflecting her own terrified face back at her. This cryptic statement hinted at a sinister purpose beyond her capture. It implied a long, drawn-out nightmare. The Puppetmaster turned and receded into the shadows, vanishing silently. He left Sarah alone in the spotlight, surrounded by his silent, watchful family. The strings remained, holding her upright. The promise of her important part echoed in the silence. She was no longer Sarah, the artist. She was a character in a play, waiting for the curtain to rise. Rest now. The real performance will begin soon, and you have a very important part to play. Sarah was not the end of his collection, but a new beginning. The invitation is answered. The cast is complete. The long intermission is over. He stopped a few feet from her, his masked face tilting as if in appraisal. He raised one gloved hand toward her, palm open in a gesture that was somewhere between a blessing and a claim. There is only the chilling implication of continuation. The Grand Orpheum Theatre has claimed a new resident, and its power has been renewed. The silent invitation has been answered. The cycle is poised to begin again, with Sarah now a part of the terrifying Lure, waiting for the next chapter of this dark unfolding saga. For Sarah, the curtain has not fallen, it has just risen on an endless performance. Her silent scream is now part of the theatre's eternal silence. The strings hold her fast, a chilling promise that for her, the show will go on forever.
There is no resolution, no escape.
The single spotlight on Sarah did not go out. It remained fixed on her, a celestial prison from which she could not escape. If you enjoyed this story, show your support by liking this video, leaving a comment and subscribing to Eerie Tales Studio so you never miss a single mysterious tale. That way, you'll never miss a new legend emerging from the shadows and silence. Thank you for joining our eternal theatre. See you soon, where the curtain never falls.